Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Joel Furman and I welcome you to Cook to Live, where I'm going to show you today some food preparation techniques and wonderful ways to make vegetables taste great. And if you want to have the immunity solution be powerful in your life, you're going to eat salad and make the salad the main dish and learn how to make great tasting but healthy dressings on your salads and vegetable dishes. So in this video I'm going to show you some basic food preparation techniques, like how to roast garlic, like how to prepare the basic nut milk to use as a base for salad dressings. And I'm going to show you some delicious ways when you're on the go and need to eat a salad that day. You can make a blended salad or a green smoothie. You can make a delicious tasting salad that you can eat with a spoon or drink. Then I'm going to show you some of my favorite basic salad dressings that you can expand to make other variations of, and some great ways and some other delicious salads that are just bring you on your road to absolutely incredible health. Learning these food techniques and even the prepping the food is so important because you don't want to be in your kitchen cooking all the time. You want to prepare the food and eat leftovers, and a lot of the components of the food you want to make in large amounts in advance. Like cook those mushrooms in advance, save them in the refrigerator. Make a bean dish and save that bean dish and put it aside. Make the nut milk in advance so you don't have to keep making fresh ones every day. Save it there for a few days. All right, so it's like the Boy Scouts. When you're prepared, everything becomes easy. All right, so when I wash lettuce, let me go into washing lettuce first. Cut the bottom off the head of lettuce you're using. So in this case, I'm going to wash 3 heads of lettuce. So bring these 3 heads over to the sink. I'm going to separate some of the outer leaves away so I can make sure the center part of the romaine, I can open and separate the leaves to make sure there's no dirt in the bottom, in the base. Now I grab my head that's now been washed and I'm going to shake it, give it a little snap in the sink to get most of the water, turn it around and snap the other side to get the water off. Okay, now I have my lettuce and I'm going to take a towel, but not a dish towel. I'm going to take a regular bath towel, a big bath towel, lay it out on my counter. Now I'm going to spread the lettuce. So this is 2 heads of romaine. Usually wash 3 or 4 heads at a time. So spread it. Actually, I'll take the last head. So I'll have all 3 heads washed. So now I'm going to separate and lay the 3 heads out on the towel. Let's assume now I've covered the towel. So these are 1 layer of lettuce on the open note on the towel, and I fold the towel in half now on top of that layer. And now I can lay down another layer on this half, the remaining lettuce, separating it all out, and fold it again. Now I'm going to press it down and have my lettuce all dried out nicely. It's actually better than the salad spinner because you can't put so much lettuce in the salad spinner. And it's nice to have the lettuce nice and dry. Now you also can just roll the towel up now, fold it in half, and put it actually in the refrigerator to store for later use, just like this, because it keeps the lettuce nice and fresh. Okay, so now we're taking our lettuce out of the towel. The lettuce is dried. And if I'm going to use the lettuce in a salad today, I'm going to chop it up for my salad and chop the lettuce pretty thin, in pretty thin slices. So here I'm going to put it into two heads. My lettuce is all dry. And now I'm going to chop my lettuce and get it ready for the salad. And I'll chop it relatively thin, because when I chop my lettuce relatively thin in very small pieces, it'll make it so I could fit more salad in the salad bowl. If you leave it in too big of pieces, so I chopped my lettuce pretty thin, so here I have a whole more than 2 heads of lettuce to fit nicely in my salad bowl. One thing I like to do is to roast garlic ahead of time. And I always keep some roasted garlic available to put in salad dressings and various dishes. So when I roast the garlic, I'm going to use a whole bulb of garlic and roast the whole thing at once. I may even roast a couple of cloves of garlic together. And how I do it is I take a sharp knife, I'm going to take the garlic and I'm going to flatten one side off. So I'm going to cut one side off a head of garlic. And now, see, I made a flat side. That gives me a nice firm base. So when I cut the garlic, I'm not going to have it slip and roll. So now I'm going to take this firm base that I made, and I'm going to cut the root base right off that garlic with a very sharp knife. Rolling the knife down. Now that exposed, take a look now. So I cut the root off, and it exposed the bottom parts of every clove. I can actually cut a little more off. I could be cut a little more root off there, so I expose a little more of the garlic. Rock the knife down, and it's hard to cut that garlic. Okay, there we go. And now I can take this whole clove of garlic with where each clove on the bulb is exposed, and I'm going to put it in a pan to roast. I have a preheated oven, and I'm going to roast that at 350 for only 10 minutes. So let's put that in. We'll take that, and of course, I'll do a second one real quickly because I like to do two heads. So I'm going to cut the base off just to give me this to stabilize it, and start it going, and then put the front part of the knife down, so you can put a lot of weight and pressure on the knife as you roll it back towards you to cut the base of the garlic completely off, and that's better cut. So now I'm going to put those in the pan, put them in the preheated oven at 350, and leave it in there for about 10 to 12 minutes. All right, my garlic now has cooked 10 minutes in the oven, so I can separate the bulb that's been cooked, and the garlic, the inside, the garlic's soft, and I can just squeeze it right out of each piece. So you squeeze that out. You don't even have to peel it. You can just squeeze it, and it pops right out. So you can just take the garlic because the edge we cut, and it just squeezes right out of that cut edge. So now you have, which you can store for later use, or use it just by squeezing it right out. It pops right out. See that? So now I have my roasted garlic that's ready to make my dishes, to add to salad dressings and dishes. One thing I like to make is a garlic nutter, which I just take my roasted garlic and I mix it in the blender. In this case, I'm going to I'll put garlic and some nuts. I'll usually use cashews and almonds, or some mixture of raw cashews and almonds. So I'll put garlic in the blender. I'll put cashews in the blender. I'll put some almonds in the blender. I'll throw a little bit of water in there, and just a little bit of water to get it going. And some nutritional yeast. Oh, my nutritional yeast. And I'll blend that up. And just nuts, garlic, nutritional yeast, and water. And blend it, turn the blender on. And make an incredible butter that spreads. Of course, it spreads, comes out nice and thick. You can add this to make your own salad dressings out of this garlic nutter, or you can obviously use this to put it right in dishes as is. And of course, I've been teaching you about the value of eating onions, especially when you eat them raw. And we're going to cut them up, onions, to use in cooked dishes and raw dishes. So let me show you how I cut an onion. Because when you take an onion, you know how it makes your eyes tear? Well, most of that stringent gas that's formed, that sulfuric acid, is formed close to the root, the bottom of the onion. So you want to cut that off, and when you cut off that onion, keep the root away from you so the gas doesn't get right into your face. So what I'm going to do to cut an onion is I'm going to first make a level platform so it doesn't roll and I don't get hurt. So I'm going to cut the base, just a level platform off the onion, so I have a flat base. Set that onion down firmly so I can cut the root off with it pointing away from me. Now I'll cut the stem and make a small slit and be able to peel back that one layer of onion skin to remove the outer skin of the onion. So I'm going to throw that away, and I'm left with the piece of the onion now that I'm going to slice. So I'm going to throw this away. And now my onion has that flat base. I can lay it down on to cut. And I can use a knife that has a rolling motion to it, a rocking motion. And I can use my finger as a guide to cut very thin slices in the onion. Okay, so just assume now that I've cut my onion thinly sliced, I can use it in rings and salads, but now I'm going to cut my thinly sliced onion so it's chopped very fine, and I'm going to store this very finely chopped up onion to use in my salads. A lot of times also when I'm putting almonds or shredded almonds in a dish, I want the almonds to be blanched. In other words, I want to take these brown skins off the almonds. And a very easy way to blanch them is first I take water that I've pre-boiled, so it's boiling water, and I put the almonds that I want to blanch into the boiling water. And as soon as I add them to the boiling water, I'm going to shut the flame off so the water stops boiling. I'm going to leave these almonds in the hot water that was boiling for 1 minute. Okay, so I have my almonds that are now in the hot water for a full minute. And I'm going to take the almonds and first I'm going to pour the hot water off, of course. So now I have and I'm going to dump the almonds that are hot into cold water. And now I can take just the almonds so the almonds can be handles. They're not too hot to put a hand on them. So I can pour the cold water off now. First I poured the hot water off. Now I'm pouring the cold water off. And then I can set my almonds now right up in a towel. I'm going to spread out these almonds that have now been softened, dump them on a towel. And they're not hot to handle. You see how easy I can just squeeze off all the skins. Oops, that one just went flying. But I'm popping the skins off with my hands. It's fun. Better put your hand in front of it as I squeeze the skins off. See, so I'm grabbing the almond and giving it a squeeze. The skin, you can just take it with your fingers, and the skin comes right off. So take a look here at how nice this is. I have these blanched almonds with no skins on them, how easy that was. Now I'm going to take the blanched almonds and some raw cashews, and a lot of times in salad dressings, I want to add a little edge of different flavor, and I'll very lightly toast the almonds and the cashews. So I'll take my blanched almonds, and I'd rather use blanched almonds to lightly toast them than the almonds that are not blanched with the skins on them, because then you can see that light toast, and it brings out the flavor more. So I'm going to put the blanched almonds in my baking dish. And now I have my baking dish full of raw cashews and raw almonds that have been blanched. I'm going to take them and put them in a toaster oven, just on a low setting, for one 3-minute toast. Or I can throw them in the regular oven, which has been preheated to 375, for a few minutes. We're talking about a very light toast, so we're just talking about 2 to 5 minutes at the most. Usually within 3 minutes, they come out just right with that light toast. So I'm going to take the raw nuts and put them in my oven. When I get them lightly toasted, just take a few minutes. And a lot of recipes to make sauces and to make dressings, we might use a little soy milk or hemp milk or almond milk. And I'm going to show you how to make it fresh, your own. The best way to do it is to make it fresh. It's really simple and easy, too. All you do is take the blender. I'll take the Vitamix. I'll put 2½ cups of water in there. Really simple. I'm going to put in a cup of almonds, but these almonds have been soaked overnight in water, so they're pre-soaked almonds to make them softer. And it looks like it's more of a cup because they're swelled a little bit. So I'm going to put a cup of pre-soaked almonds in there. I'm going to put a cup of hemp seeds. These are hulled hemp seeds right in there. And of course, to sweeten it a touch, add some dates. In this case, I'm going to add 8 of these Diglett Nor dates, or you could add 4 medjool dates. And these Diglett Nor dates have already had the pits taken out. But if the pits weren't taken out, just assume that the pit was in there, I would slit the top of each date halfway through, open it out, pull out the pit, and then it'll be ready to go. So I'm putting the 8 dates in there. So very, very simple. Just the nuts, the seeds, the dates, and of course, I like to add a little touch of vanilla to it, make it taste really great. So I'm going to put a ½ teaspoon of vanilla in there as well. All right, that was a full teaspoon. ½ teaspoon, full teaspoon to your own personal liking. Here, I'm going to turn it on. Wow, a delicious thick nut milk. So some people like to strain this through a cloth to make a thinner milk, but I happen to love the taste and flavor of this delicious thick drink just like it is. I'm going to put that aside for now. I'm going to use that in some of the dishes we're going to make. You know, it's important when you're eating salad to chew really well, because the more you chew and liquefy the greens in your mouth, the more you're liberating those life-giving, health-giving phytonutrients that are so critically important. So when you eat a salad, concentrate, chew the food to a liquid. If you don't have time to really chew very well, then blend the salad in the blender. Make a green smoothie or a blended salad. Let me show you a few of my favorite blended salads. Sometimes I have to get to work, or I'm going to the gym, or I'm going out to play tennis, and I want to take my salad with me in a glass so I can drink it down because I don't have a half an hour to chew it with. So one of my favorite blended salads is just mixing some mango, lettuce, and a squeeze of lemon together. Let me show you how I do it. I take a mango, and in this case I'm going to open a mango up. I'm going to slice it along the pit, both sides down the pit, and a little slit in the bottom of the skin that surrounds the pit, so I can peel it back. I can peel back the skin around the pit of the mango. And I'll take my, of course I'm going to make a blended salad, so I'm going to put it in the Vitamix. And this Vitamix is a super powerful blender that when you add things like nuts and seeds, it creams it down to a smooth, creamy sauce or a liquid, great for making blended salads. And it even comes with a tamper that you can use through the top hole. You can take the top cover off the Vitamix, and when you put your ingredients in, it has a hole in the top. And that hole in the top is while it's blending. And I can use the tamper, if I need, to push the ingredients down right through the hole in the top of the lid. So I'm going to show you how I do it now. So I took the mango, and I exposed the pit, and I'm going to slice along the pit, and first remove one side of the pit of the mango, and then the other side, and flip it over, and do one edge and the other edge, little off the bottom. And then I'm going to take the two halves of the mango I cut. I'm going to score the halves, make a checkerboard pattern in the skin, right beneath, stopping so it doesn't go through the skin. And then take a spoon, and I can scoop it out. I can serve this mango cut like that, or I can just scoop it out right to make my blended salad. And you could make this blended salad with one mango or two mangoes, or even frozen mango. You can open a bag of frozen mango and throw half a bag in there, and you can make it like a cold blended salad, almost like an ice cream. But in this case, I put the mango in. I'm going to take a squeeze of fresh lemon in there. That's about a quarter of a lemon. I'm going to take a handful, about a cup of chopped spinach. So in this case, it's a large handful of spinach. That's baby spinach, organic baby spinach. And I'm going to, in this case, romaine lettuce. So here I have chopped romaine lettuce. I'm going to add 2 giant handfuls of romaine in there, which is almost 4 cups of romaine. So I have almost my blender filled with greens. And then, of course, I'm going to blend it down and add a half a cup. In this case, you could use hemp milk, soy milk, but I'm going to use the homemade hemp almond milk I made earlier in the show and pour it right in there to make it creamy, make it nice and creamy. Cover up the Vitamix tightly. I have my plunger ready, and I'm going to turn it on. Plunge the lettuce down. Okay, so I made a delicious salad, like a salad in a glass, and I could pour it into a glass and drink it. It's kind of thick. I can pour it into a glass, or sometimes I can just eat it with a spoon as is. Pour it into a little dish and eat it with a spoon. Wow, that is good. Another simple blended salad that I love to use all the time and I eat is to make an orange blended salad with orange, and I add some seeds into it, like sesame seeds and hemp seeds and chia seeds. So in this case, I'm going to make a blended salad, and we're going to take the Vitamix again. I'm going to throw in a good amount of this is a spring mix, a good amount of spring mix, about 2 ounces. And in this case, I'm going to throw in a whole head of Bibb lettuce that I washed. I love Bibb lettuce. It's a very mild flavor. I'm going to make a blended salad out of that. Now, I'm going to take an orange, and this is a regular navel orange. I'll show you how I peel an orange. I first put my finger in and remove the top piece, but I don't rip it off because I want to work my finger around the outside of the orange, making a big loop all the way around. And then when I make my loop around the outside of the orange with my thumb, I'm going to flip it over and use my fingers now to peel back the bottom lip of the orange. And I can remove that, and then I could take the fingers, my smaller fingers, and I can pull out that little, like the little plunger, the little bottom part of the orange. So my orange is peeled, take it apart, remove the stem part, and put my orange in there. And I have and now I'm going to add the seeds to it. In this case, I'm going to add some unhulled sesame seeds. And you see the way the unhulled sesame seeds are a brown, tannish color? That's because the shell of the sesame seed is intact, because almost all that extra calcium and nutrients and fibers are in the seed, or in the skin of the seed, or the shell of the seed. So you want to look for the unhulled sesame seeds, not the hulled sesame seeds, which are whitish. This has the hull taken off. Don't use these white sesame seeds. Put that aside. I'm going to throw a few tablespoons of these very, very rich calcium source, 10 times as much calcium as almost any food in the world. And you want to get your calcium from natural sources. Chia seeds, as I've taught you, have full of those lignans and powerful beneficial fibers like sterols and stanols. Very, very healthy too. And I'm going to put a nice heaping tablespoon of chia seeds in my blended salad as well. And add, of course, a little squeeze of lemon. In this case, I'll use the same lemon I used already, and I'll get the rest of it out. So it's like a quarter of a, I'm going to get that extra squeeze out. So it's like a quarter of a lemon, because I used this half a lemon for 2 blended salads already. Okay, so I'm going to take my orange blended salad, seal it up, get ready with my tamper, and I'm ready to go. Flip the switch on. Now, when you flip the switch on, I'm keeping it on low when I usually use the Vitamix blender, low first, so it doesn't splatter all over the place. All right. This is a really super healthy and delicious way to drink to get your greens into you. Take a taste of this. Got those healthy seeds and 2 types of greens. When I use spinach in a blended salad, I usually use a mixture of spinach and some other lettuce. I don't want to use primarily spinach. Spinach is just part of the ingredient, because mostly I want to get the lettuces and a variety of different greens in, because spinach contains more oxalic acid. And the high oxalic acid leafy greens binds calcium. So you don't get all the beneficial calcium and minerals when you use too much spinach. So you could use spinach as a part, but not more than a half of any blended salad or any dish you're making that you're using raw spinach with. I'd like to make you one last blended salad or green smoothie because I've been teaching you that the cruciferous vegetables contain those cancer-fighting isothiocyanates, or ITCs. And what better food to get into your diet than watercress? Watercress has the biggest concentration of ITCs than almost any other food in the world. Super anti-cancer food. So I'm going to take, it's very strong, so I'm going to take a handful of watercress, like a cup of watercress, and put it in the high-powered blender or the Vitamix. And I'll put in some regular lettuce. Here I'll put in 3 handfuls of romaine lettuce. 3 handfuls is like a whole head of lettuce. And you've been learning about the power of berries, right? G-bombs, greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. And I'm going to throw in berries and pomegranate. Pomegranate is a superfood with tremendous beneficial effects. So in this case, I'm putting in a cup of pomegranate, right in there. A whole bag, what's this? A whole 10-ounce bag of frozen berries, mixed berries, dumping right in there. And give it some extra flavor and smoothness and creaminess, a half of a ripe banana. So there we have the ingredients. I'm going to blend that right down using my tamper. And we're going to have a great tasting way to eat, to get those delicious watercress and berries into you. Oh, I have to shut it off because I forgot the flax seeds, right? Flax seeds and chia seeds are the seeds that have the most lignans, powerful, beneficial longevity and anti-cancer effects. And you want to eat your flax seeds ground when you sprinkle them in your oatmeal and cereals and salads, because when they're ground up, you're going to get the most absorption. But in this case, we don't have to grind them because we're adding them to a blended salad, and the Vitamix is going to grind them as it's blending the rest of the salad. So I'm going to throw a nice heaping tablespoons of ground flax seeds in there, which I almost forgot to do, and put it back on again. And then we can gradually speed it up. Wish you were here with me. You could try some of this with me. See how great tasting these healthy superfoods can be. Wow. I don't even love watercress, but putting a berry green smoothie like this becomes one of my most favorite green blended salads. I want to show you now how to make a few different salad dressings, because the exciting thing about this is if you know how to make a few dressings, you could use the same principles to make dozens, scores of different types of dressings. And the key here is we mix some type of healthy fat, like a nut or a seed or an avocado, with something more astringent, like vinegar or lemon, maybe some herbs, spices, onions, garlic to flavor it, and then maybe something sweet, like raisins or dates to cut the bite of the vinegar, and we make an infinite number of incredible tasting dressings. First, I'm going to make a zesty avocado dressing. I'm going to open the avocado by cutting it around the pit, separating it. Of course, in this case, I'm going to just take the knife to pull the pit out. And then I'm going to take the avocado, scoop it out, the whole avocado, throw it into the Vitamix with a tomato, a half an onion that I already skinned and cut already, half a pepper, 2 cloves of raw garlic. In this case, these are pretty big cloves, a squeeze of lemon. So notice how I used something juicy, like a tomato, or it could be an orange, like one of my dressings is an orange cashew dressing, which orange cashew sesame, where we use orange juice or orange in place of the liquid. Or it could be a healthy Caesar made with a soy base or the hemp seed base. But in this case, the liquid's going to be the tomato, and the pepper are going to give it the liquid. And the lemon, I'm going to put a teaspoon of veggie zest here. And you could use any kind of no salt seasoning in place of that, but this is a really healthy seasoning. I'm going to use a little bit of a Riesling vinegar. I'll put in 2 tablespoons of vinegar. This is a type of grape vinegar. You could use a wine vinegar if you don't have this. In this case, too, I'm also going to add just 2 pitted dates to give it a little sweetness that cuts the base, the sharpness of the lemon and the vinegar to make it really taste great. Okay, so remember, start the Vitamix with your blender on a lower setting first to get it started. And remember, if you don't have a Vitamix or a high-powered blender like this and using a regular blender, you would just add a little bit more liquid to make it blend easier. So you might have to add a little water to it and thin the dressing if you don't have such a high-powered blender. And and this is so convenient with a tamper and a high-powered blender, but you can use it if you're using a little water in a less expensive and a lower-powered blender. You could take a dish towel over the top, and you could blend it with a little extra liquid, and you could use the back of a carrot stick or a celery stick to push the ingredients down in case it hits the blades. You don't want to use anything like a utensil. But in any case, okay, let's get started. I'm putting this on low. Tamp it down. This is so simple, took a minute, an incredibly delicious dressing. You just got to try this dressing. It's really great. Now, let me show you one more, another quick dressing you could make. All right, let me show you another one of my favorite dressings, because you can do varieties of this one too. This one is an almond balsamic, where I actually take regular almonds, and here's a third or half a cup of almonds, some balsamic vinegar in with the almonds, and I'm going to put some water in here. Here's just a third of a cup of water to thin it a little bit. And now I'm going to use, remember earlier I roasted the garlic? Well, here's the garlic that was roasted that popped out. I'm going to throw the whole bulb of garlic in there, a lot of roasted garlic, and I'm going to put in here also a third of a cup of raisins, because I want to use something sweet to counter or balance that the sharpness of the balsamic. Now, raisins are great, but raisins are bigger, right? And the currants are just like raisins. They taste similar, but they're much smaller. So when I'm putting things in a blender, it doesn't matter which I use. I can use either one. In a dish like a vegetable dish or a soup or a salad, and I want to add them directly into the dish, I'll probably use the currants rather than the raisins because they're smaller, it disperses the flavor more evenly through the dish. Instead of getting a lump or a raisin, you get a more even flavor. Okay, and in this case, I'm going to put in just a quarter of a raw onion. And optional, I'm going to add a little bit of seeds, just a handful of sesame seeds. I'm going to throw in a little bit of oregano. A little bit of, a little too much, oregano, and a little bit of thyme in there. Okay, so put a little bit of spices in, and I'm going to make it fantastic. The key here is that I use the combination of using the seeds and nuts with the vinegar, and this dressing is also delicious if you use, instead of using water, you can make this into a tomato base. Like you can make a tomato-based almond dressing with basil. Instead of the thyme and the oregano, you can use basil, oregano, garlic, and the tomato sauce base tastes fantastic with the almonds and the raisins in as well. So another variation of it. So let's get this one going. And of course, you can mix this using with any type of greens, but just take a taste of this. That really is good. See, having that garlic roasted in advance makes it so easy to throw these dressings together. So now you've seen and heard about a few of my favorite dressings. And keep in mind, we make the dressings this way because when you use nuts and seeds as a fat component instead of oil, the fat doesn't go on your body. Right? The fat, you're eating food, the fat added to the salad increases the biologic availability of the nutrients, the anti-cancer compounds, makes you absorb it better. You want to put a fatty salad, but it's the type of fats, it's these healthy fats that are disease protective in many, many ways. Let me now show you how to make a nice kale salad with some avocado and apple mixed in. Because as you know, kale is a superfood, one of the top scoring foods on my scoring system. And it's a cruciferous vegetable that when you eat raw and you chew it really well, you form those beneficial isothiocyanates in your mouth. Actually, you mix in your mouth with bacteria that form nitrous oxide, that make a superfood of these incredible beneficial phytochemicals as you're chewing it. So it's really nice to take kale. So what we do is we take fresh kale. This has already been washed in the sink. And then I'm going to strip it. And of course, when you're washing the kale, open it up and use your fingers to look down the center vein of the kale, because that's where the aphids and the bugs like to hide. Once you get the kale washed like this, you can lightly dry it. You don't have to lay it out every leaf in a towel. You could just put it in a giant towel, and without laying it out, rolling it up and give it a squeeze, getting most of the water out. And now I'm going to take the kale, hold it in my hand, and grab the stem and pull the leaf part off the stem. So I have my kale that's relatively dry, stripping the stem right into the salad bowl, because the stem's a little thick and a little too tough to eat when you're going to eat a salad. You could use the stems in soups and when you're cooking kale, mostly in soups if you're blending the kale in. But otherwise, strip it off. Okay, now because I'm making a kale salad, I'm going to roll the kale and chop it very small into small pieces. So chopping it as thin as I can. Tastes good with a little finger mixed in there too. Okay, the kale's in there. Now I'm going to add a squeeze of lemon and an avocado. Now with kale, we want to almost have it, sometimes it's even good to make it in advance and have the whole kale salad be marinating in the refrigerator overnight to give it that more flavor. So I'm going to scoop the avocado out. I'm going to add, of course, I have here some minced ginger. And the ginger, of course, when you mince it, you first take the skin off, or the outer portion off, and take a center part, and then you could mince it very finely. And here I have some minced garlic. Now, I showed you earlier how to roast garlic, and some like the biting flavor of the raw garlic. In this case, I'm using raw garlic, but a lot of times I'll mix the roasted garlic with the raw garlic to add a little more garlicky flavor, but not as much of a bite when you use too much raw garlic. Okay, now I have the avocado, these ingredients added, and I'm going to mush it together, mix it with my hands, really because I'm going to squeeze the kale, and squeezing the kale, breaking the cells, almost cracking the cells as I'm mixing it, really makes it softer and better when you're eating it. You see that it's like a crushed kale salad. Okay, there we go. That part's done. Now the finishing touches are to put in chopped apple. Let me just rinse my hands off. Okay, take an apple. We're going to decore an apple real quick. You can also do this quickly in a chopping bowl or with a Vidalia Chop Wizard, some of those chopping machines that you just put the apple in or put the vegetables in and it chops it for you. So you could chop it by hand or use one of those chopping devices. At home, I like to use a wooden chopping bowl, one of those hand choppers that do it real fast. Okay, so now I'm putting the chopped apple in there. I'm going to mix that around. And you could vary this to your liking. You could add a little vinegar to it. In this case, it's ready to go. We're going to plate it into a plate. And then once we plate it, I'm going to sprinkle some chopped cashews on top. And that's going to really make a delicious kale salad that you're going to love. Here it is. I plated it on a plate just to see how nice it looks. A delicious start to any meal. Of course, it's an important part of the immunity solution. Don't forget, the salad is the main dish. And when you use the kale and other types of raw greens and chew them very well, you're getting all those beneficial nutrients prepared in a way where the nutrients are most biologically available to the body. By now, you must have heard me talk about the miraculous beneficial health properties of mushrooms, right? Don't forget your G-bombs, and that M stands for mushrooms. And here I have a mixture of some delicious mushrooms that I love to use, the baby bella or the cremini mushrooms, and the shiitake mushrooms and the oyster mushrooms. These are fantastic. Let me take some of these mushrooms. I'm going to make a marinated mushroom salad where I cook these mushrooms just for a few minutes. Because when you cook mushrooms, you dissipate some of those carcinogenic toxins that are in raw mushrooms, a light amount, not very damaging, but we want to dissipate them so we can use the mushrooms cold in a salad. So I'm going to take my shiitake mushrooms and cut off that little brown base off each mushroom, just that little brown spot, so I can use the stems and the mushrooms. Just the very bottom part of that stem I'm going to remove. These have already been washed already, so all the dirt's off them, and the little bit of dirt that's left in the stem part, I'm cutting off the bottom part of the stem if any dirt is left. And now that I've finished that, I'm going to take the mushrooms and chop them. Stems and all. Okay, I'm going to put them in my pot on the stove. I'm going to take some of my cremini mushrooms or baby bellas and the oyster mushrooms as well. I'm going to add them. So this is a mixture of 3 different types of mushrooms. Okay, now with mushrooms, because there's a lot of moisture in mushrooms, you don't really have to add water into the pot. You can just cook them dry, especially if you cover the pot to keep the moisture in there. So there they are in my covered pot, letting them cook for a couple of minutes. Okay, in this case, I cooked them down for about 3 minutes. I'm going to scoop out the cooked mushrooms here, put them in a bowl for a few minutes while I make the sauce for the salad. Okay, there are my cooked mushrooms. Put them over here for a minute. I'm going to take my mixer, blender. I'm going to make the sauce for them. I'm going to have 1/3 cup of water, or actually in this case I put in 1/2 cup of water. My raisins, so I have 1/3 cup of raisins, 1/4 cup of, and this I'm using my fig vinegar. I love fig vinegar, or you could use balsamic if you don't have fig, and 1 clove of raw garlic, and a handful of walnuts. Don't forget, these walnuts are the king of all nuts because they're very high in omega-3 fatty acids, and we want to always put some type of omega-3 seed or nut into a lot of our dishes. And of course, I'm going to put a squeeze of stone ground Dijon mustard in there too. Okay, I'm going to blend that up to make a nice creamy dressing. See the same kind of principle where I used a little bit of something sweet with something a little bit more pungent, like the mustard and the vinegar. Okay, made my nice creamy sauce. I'm going to now pour this on top of the mushrooms. Let that marinate and mix. Okay, while my mushrooms are marinating in that delicious saucy dressing, I'm going to make my salad by, in this case, I'm going to make a spinach arugula salad. Now, arugula, like watercress, is a very powerful cruciferous raw green. We want to eat some raw cruciferous greens every day. So I'm going to cut up my arugula very fine. And if I wasn't going to use arugula or watercress in the salad, I might put some red cabbage in the salad, or green cabbage, or bok choy, or baby bok choy, because I'm trying to eat some raw cruciferous vegetables added to my salad every day. So I got my raw cruciferous in there, and now I'm going to add spinach. So in this case, I have baby organic spinach, which I'm going to chop fine. Toss that around a little bit. Now I'm going to chop a red pepper up. I'm putting some sliced red pepper in the salad. Okay, I'm going to cut up some fresh thyme in the salad too. Tablespoon of fresh thyme, and now shallots. Shallots are, of course, in the onion family, but actually compared to onions, shallots are one of that family that has the highest amount of those anti-cancer organosulfide compounds. So why don't you get in the habit of adding, shallots and raw onion chopped very finely added to your salads. You can throw them into the dressing, but when they're chopped finely, they add a great texture and a great flavor. So some I'm going to toss that. And then add my cooked marinated mushrooms right on top. And what I do in my house is I always have some extra cooked mushrooms around, cold in the refrigerator, so I can always throw them on top of a salad. Sometimes I'll marinate them. Sometimes I'll just not marinate them. We'll use them in the dressing that I'm making for that day for that salad. So here you have a super healthy, with mushrooms and shallots, some of the healthiest foods in the world mixed together with the arugula. Can you imagine? You're combining almost all the most powerful G-bombs, anti-cancer foods in one dish. Have a little bit of this dish. It goes a long way towards protecting your precious health. Take a look how that marinated mushroom salad looks plated. And if you're a nutritarian, you understand that I'm using the most powerful anti-cancer foods in the world in one dish, right? The arugula, the spinach, the walnuts, the shallots, the cooked mushrooms, all together in a dish that puts you on your road to superior health. Well, thanks for joining me in this segment of Cook to Live. I hope you can take this information and put it right to work in your life, because it's the secret to the immunity solution, is to get the foods, make delicious tasting salad dressings, eat at least one large salad every day, either a nice chopped salad or a blended salad or some type of raw greens. Put the information together in your life and have fun, not only making what I taught you, but using the principles I taught you to experiment and have fun in your kitchen. Wishing you great, long-lasting health. Certainly it can be yours.